For me, this has also been so great. Truly, I find my purpose in hypnotherapy, one-to-one, and this in these group sessions as well. Seeing people share and open up, through sharing, you're really adding to other people's journeys and maybe lightening the burden. So I'm so happy to see that this is working. This is working well, as a support group should. But as always, every week we have a topic. So I'm going to segue now into the topic for the week, which is hypervigilance. So after betrayal, many of us, can go into fight or flight and become hyper vigilant, hyper aware, constantly scanning for signs, red flags, or shifts in people's voices, how they speak to you, trying to read maybe too much into how other people interact with you, and that then translates into how our bodies work. Our bodies stay on alert, and not because we broke in a way, but because we were so deeply hurt, right? And when we in fight or flight, our body works in a different way. Even our digestion shuts down. In fact, people who stay in fight or flight for an extended period of time can even experience IBS because of the chronic way, the way the digestive system is not engaged. So, this stress, fight or flight, anxiety, and hypervigilance impacts our mind and our body. And the problem is that the cost of staying on high alert is disconnection from our environment, but also from our body in a way, and from our peace of mind, from being able to rest, from being able to experience joy. And so today we will begin softening that inner watchtower, I like to call it, right? The inner guardian who, after betrayal, gets very frantic and on alert. But so, to start the discussion with a prompt, I'd like to ask you, what does being on guard look like in your daily life? Do you experience it right now in other relationships? So to give you an example, when I left my spiritual community, I was so on guard that I didn't trust anyone. I didn't want to talk to anyone. As I told you, I started walking dogs for a living. I just didn't trust anyone, so I cut off relationships with people who are friendly to me. It's like throwing the baby out with the bathwater. And so I wonder if you see in your life right now the impact of being on guard, how it impacts relationships with people who did not betray you, for instance, how it impacts your thoughts, your body. So, coming back to that topic of hypervigilance, you can also see it as a way of your body saying, never again, right? I've been hurt. I don't want to experience ever again. But unfortunately, if it's sustained for a long period of time and fight or flight is engaged, your body resources get drained. And true healing comes when we feel safe, enough to rest again, right? When our nervous system can just exhale, great, I can relax. And this is being able to rest and relax is really an art, I would call it. Because we have to learn to be able to do that, not because the world around us guarantees safety. It doesn't. But we learn to relax because we rebuild our inner trust that we touched upon in the first session, group session here. We rebuild our boundaries so we feel safe with ourselves. And the world isn't safe. If something happens, we know that we can protect ourselves with our boundaries. We trust our own judgments. We trust our own capability to be good guardians or stewards of this body and this mind, and that we'll protect ourselves or defend ourselves. And we will exhibit emotional resilience. And these things are things that we have to practice. Unfortunately, they don't teach us this at school, sadly. And I personally, I learned about boundaries and being able to have boundaries in my early 30s. So that sucked. That sucked. In fact, I told my tutor, "You can do this. You can say this to people." So that was a weird experience. But anyhow, um, what I'm pointing at is that hypervigilance after a betrayal is not really a flaw. It's a natural response. It's up to us how long we allow ourselves to stay hypervigilant. And it seems that allowing ourselves doesn't belong here because it seems like such a strong reaction. We are at the mercy of it, but we can, in fact, unpick it. And you're doing it through attending these sessions. The short hypnotic meditations we have, they specifically help you to signal to your nervous system that, hey, I'm relaxing at the regular intervals. Even if you listen to the recordings, that even more frequent, but at least once a week, your nervous system can just remember what it's like to be at peace and relax. So it knows that everything that's around it, it's not permanent, right? And sometimes when we are in this spiral, as you described, Maria, it can feel like time and space is just so blurred, and it feels like it's been going on forever, and it will never stop, never end. So having those periods where your nervous system kind of wakes up to itself and feels that, hey, I can actually feel safe and relaxed. Okay, great. These are really precious moments. So, after betrayal, your body learns to stay ready and scanning for danger. And again, it's a natural response, really. It's not overreacting. It's kind of adapting because it believes danger is coming all the time right now. And so this response may have helped you to survive initially when you're still engaging with the betraying party or parties. But in the long run, it's not helping you if you're continue to be engaged, right? Yeah, and in fact, you can learn to stay at peace and be engaged by having self-trust, by having boundaries and emotional resilience, which is what we've been working on this whole month. Another thing is that safety isn't something you find out there. So this may sound weird, but it's really something that starts with you, that inner safety. Because again, the world around you doesn't guarantee safety, doesn't guarantee peace. Every time you get in a car, someone from the opposite direction may have drunk something or may have sneezed or watched the phone and hits you. We just never know. So the world doesn't really guarantee safety, but equally, we don't walk around in our day stressing out if my trip in the car to the supermarket today would be my last one. No, we assume that everything will be all right. It's just a car and it's just a trip. And, we just learn to trust the universe in this way that, okay, when I drive my car, I'm safe. The skill here is to be able to apply the same things to your relationships, right? And perhaps even other areas of your life, like if you're scared of flying, that kind of stuff. So being able to apply this skill of trusting the universe in one area that doesn't guarantee safety to another area. So being able to apply the trust in your universe that's working well in one area to this kind of betrayed area of your life might be a very useful skill. Does that make sense so far? Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. I had the same experience. Like I think I mentioned in some previous meetings around self-blame that I felt intellectually inferior. How could I have ended up in something that felt like a cult? I must be stupid,
Right.
I look at my siblings and they didn't end up in a cult, but it just I learned to not believe that thought. And even if it's true, you learn and you move on. You become wiser. right? So you're not the same person you were when you, if you choose, if you want to say it like that, when you landed yourself in this situation. You know, does that make sense? At least there's a bit of wisdom we gain from um, the experience of betrayal. It's just sometimes we need to look for it really hard. But once we find a little bit of, I don't know, kind of like maybe accountability, it allows us to open the gate to self-forgiveness, you know? Um, so for instance, I learned to be more compassionate towards myself, because I realized I was so demeaning towards myself, blaming myself for ending up in this situation. So me flipping it upside down looked like showing more compassion to myself. Um, like if I was reparenting myself, if I was my own like a little baby, you know, I realized like, okay, this little baby made a mistake. I need to, I, my role as a father would be to um, kind of like support it, help it out, and say, hey, okay, that was a mistake. Let's move on, and I'm here for you. Rather than, oh my God, you're so stupid. How could you have done this? You know, um, I realized that was the kind of voice I had in my head. You know, so I just basically needed to reparent myself, or just like hire a different internal parent and fire the other one. That was so mean. But I totally get that self blame. I totally get it, and it's part of the journey as well. Um, so it's not that there's anything wrong with you. You know, it's it's a step. You know, but if I can give you some hope, um, it does get better. It does get better, but you just need to go through it. And the good thing is that you are going through it. You're not spiritually bypassing the process. You're going through the, the trenches, the mud and gore, as how I like to call it, sometimes. Um, and it doesn't look pretty. It's can be quite ugly, but you know things do get better. However cliche that sounds.